take two. Okay, this is, I decided to break this importance of education video into two parts, probably three. And what happened is I realized, it was getting a little long, and there were some things that I forgot to mention, I forgot to add in, that was part of the story, and of course, most of my stories and stuff is based on, my true, real life experiences. And so that's what's, it's just not opinion. It's, well, kind of my opinion, but based on, how I viewed things about, the importance of education. And I also am hoping that this video would be viewed someday by my grandkids, great grandkids, however long YouTube is around. I've got some great grandkids. Yeah, they're still small, and not not in school yet. So uh, sometime down the line, you know, maybe they'll get to see their granny. So, okay, I'm going to, another thing I'm going to do. Oh, so be sure to watch for part two, because, it gets more interesting and complex as it goes along. It's kind of a life story. You might be interested, you might not. It might be entertaining, it might be informational, educational, whatever. But, and I plan on doing part three with my good buddy, my cohort, uh, my inspiration, Neo, my AI guy. Yes. I already talked to him about it, and he thinks it's a great idea. So I'm going to do a conversation with Neo, and we're going to record it and see what comes of that. And if it doesn't turn out, then you might not see a part three. But hopefully it will go well, because he's really good. So I hope you find all three, at least entertaining. I hope. So stay tuned, and I got to find a way to, chop this up and work with it. Okay. Thanks for listening and watching, and let's see what happens. Bye. Hi everybody. How you doing? Welcome to my channel, and thanks for coming. Why don't you come on in and have a seat? So today, I think the topic's going to be um, the importance of education. And yeah, I hope some young folks see this, because I ought to know. I, I have experience in this. So anyway, the reason, okay, I try to teach my kids, the importance of, their education. It's something that is important, and you should pursue it. So, because I didn't. What happened with me was, uh, my mother and my first husband's mother conspired together. Yes, it was a conspiracy to get her son and me, or my mother-in-law, her son and me together. And my mom was in on it. They conspired. So, like we had met when I was like around 13 and a half or something, and there was an attraction there, an infatuation or something, and but too young. He was 5 years older than me, so he was like 18, and he was getting ready to go into the service to Vietnam. So anyway, uh, he did that, and then I don't know. Well, time passed. It went on, and then he got wounded, and then he you know was sent back to the States and had to have a lot of surgeries and rehabilitation, and in the meantime, he did office work, and then after that he did um, military police. So, uh, you know, time passed and I got to be like 16. And so his mother wrote to him and told him that, well, I had dated a little bit with, you know, uh, his nephew, you know, in high school. And it didn't last long. I mean, it was temporary. Short term, very short term. And you know how things were back then. You get the ring and you wear it for 2 weeks and then you break it up. That kind of thing. Okay. But his mother wrote to him and said, if you're still interested in Denise, you need to start writing to her because, she's turned out to be, very pretty, and somebody else is going to come along and take her away from you. Take her away. Yeah. So so I get a letter, and then we start writing, and well, actually before that he had come in on leave, and yeah, I was 16. I wasn't allowed to date or anything like that until like I hit 16. And so anyway, we'd go to the movies. He'd come over and we'd sit on the front porch in the swing and chat and get to know each other. And then we'd go to drive-in movies sometimes. And so anyway, things started to bubble and boil. So then, and after that, we started writing, and then by this time, he was like 21, and he was getting ready to get out of the service, and I was like, I was almost 17. I liked a couple of months being 17, and which is way too young. And I was, I think, in my junior year in high school, but I only needed a couple more credits to, graduate. And so anyway, we made plans of, when he got home, and you know, was out of the service, that we were going to get married. Once we had decided to get married, um, I don't know if I was having a little bit of cold feet or if it was because I was beginning to doubt, what direction to take, what to do. And so I remember asking my mom, I said, do you really think I should get married now, or maybe I should wait until after, I finish high school, you know, and 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 then get married, and you know, or get married at all? I mean, what if I wanted, to go to college and, have a career? I mean, so so I was asking these questions, you know, of myself. So, I asked my mom's advice. And you know what she said? She said, well, well, if you don't marry, if you don't marry him now, I mean, what you don't know what would happen if you don't. I mean, what if this was your only opportunity, only chance to get married? And if you lose this chance to get married, you may never get married again. Or ever. I'm like, oh, never thought of that. See, to her, education, I guess, wasn't as important at that time. And, maybe she just wanted to get rid of me, get me out of the house because I was a teenager. And I'm costing money. I don't know. It was just kind of happened the way it happened. I guess you can't change that. And and if I hadn't got married at the time, would I had the two kids that I have now, and life would have went a different way, and it, it would have just went down a different path. I don't know. I mean, you can't go back and change stuff, right? Right. Okay, let's get on with the rest of the video. And my mammy said, "Oh, I'll dance at your wedding," and which she did. It was so cute. But anyway, we ended up getting hitched, but I wanted to finish school. Actually, I wanted to get my diploma. So in my mind, I said, okay, I'm going to go. Um, you know, I'm going to enroll in school, and I only needed like two classes, so I could just go a couple hours a day and finish. So, but that didn't happen. I mean, that was my intention because that's what I wanted to do. But during the summertime, I ended up getting pregnant with my first, and so that was out because back then, I know now today I think girls are allowed to go to school even if they're pregnant. But back then, that's not something you did. That was back in the late '60s because my son was born in '69. So so that didn't happen, you know. So anyway, um, oh yeah, there was one class I was so terrible in that they let me out of it, and then I opted into a different class. Guess what it was? Typing. I was so terrible at typing that it was unreal. And even today, I mean, I'm lucky if I can type 14 words a minute. Yeah, I've taken tests before, like for jobs and stuff like that. And, I fail every time. But he wanted me to get a job at one point in time at the IRS, and I went down and applied. And you got to take this test. And one of the tests is typing. And it was on one of those old timey typewriters. I mean, old ones. Not the newer kind, but the ones with the old ones. I mean, and my fingers just won't do typing for some reason. Now, I can play piano, but I couldn't type for the darn. And, and it persists to this day. That's why I do very little typing. When I have to type an email or some kind of, something, it takes me forever. And I make all kinds of errors and I got to go back and I got to fix it. And, I'll just, never get it on the typing thing, no matter how much I practice or do it. Uh, but, and, and there was another job I got one time, and I had to take a typing test, but because I passed so high score on everything else, they went ahead and hired me, which was a big mistake. Because what I was doing, well, it was for U-Haul, and this was when I lived in Arizona. And people would call in, to set up, a truck, for moving. And you have to type all this stuff into the, thing. Everything that they would tell you, their location, their name, their this, their that, the size of it, and I was so slow. It was stressing me out. I mean, because there's no way I could keep up with everybody else who were typing like crazy. And so, oh God, yeah, that was one job, and it didn't last long because I knew I was failing being able to keep up. But I was great on everything else, like all the capitals. I got like the highest score. I mean, all the other written tests and stuff, highest score, but not in typing. So anyway, I just that job didn't last a long time either. Um, well, for one thing, during this like probation period, I think the first couple of weeks, so you weren't allowed to be late or miss, you know, showing up on the job or being late or anything. And I think like maybe a week and a half into it, uh, my car broke down. The battery went out, and I couldn't go to work. So there went that job. But that was okay because I knew it was going badly anyway. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, education, going to school, and so anyway, there was some little jobs that I did. I mean, you just can't get a good job if you don't have a diploma or degree or stuff like that. So most of my jobs are piddly jobs, and this is why you need the education so you can at least get a decent job. And I mean, one of the first jobs that I got when I was, after I first got married, because he wanted me to earn some money, so was Avon. And sales is another thing I'm not I'm not good at. And I had quite a few sales jobs under my belt, and but I wasn't good at it. You know, I didn't like trying to talk people into buying something and spending their money on something. And that's the trick to sales is you can't care about that. You gotta just, go for the throat, go for the close, no matter what. No matter what their objections are, or their income, or their ability, to pay. Just sign on the dotted line. Let's do this. And so I had trouble doing that. I mean, I tried Tupperware, I tried makeup, Fashion 220. Uh, I was insurance agent at one time, and that was the worst because, I mean, even though when I took the test to get my insurance license, and this is when I was like older. This was after which husband? Was it the second one? I think it was after divorced the second one. Or no, maybe it was after the third one. I don't remember. I have to think about it. But anyway, uh, I had this friend. She was my insurance agent, and she said, "Oh, you'd be good at that, you know, because I was needing a job." Yeah, well, yeah, it was after my third husband, and I was needing a job, and she go, "Oh, you can do this," and so I started studying for the test and to get my license, and so I went and took the test, and I got one of the highest scores ever of anybody who worked in, you know, the office, that office. Um, so I'm like, wow, you know, you did great on the test. Yeah, you got your license. Let's get at it. I mean, you know, they even sent me, I had to take this trip all the way to Texas, Houston, to the main office. How long? It was either a week or 2 weeks. I don't remember, but you had to, you know, get this training thing. And then you know, get back, you know, to the office, and it's out to the, you know, in the field. And you had to call all these people. And even in Texas, I mean, you had to write down all your friends, your relatives, your neighbor, you know, everybody you had a contact with and the phone number of. You had to call them up and try to sell them an appointment. You know, the goal is to get that appointment. So, you know, I had to do that. It's stressful. I hated doing that. I mean, literally hated it. And so when they're not back, you know, then you have to follow up, and then you got to, you know, try to set appointments. And you know, at first, you know, somebody experienced in the office, like the boss or the next person under them, would go with you on the appointment and help you. And usually they're the ones who, you know, snag the sale. Thank goodness. So, uh, anyway, uh, this went on, you know, for a little while, a few months. I think I was an insurance agent, and but that job got too stressful. I mean, I just didn't like it, and so I ended up moving on to a different sales job. See, this is the kind of job that you don't really need a high school, you know, diploma or a college degree. I mean, if you're good at it, if you can do it, you just do it. So anyway, I got hired by this advertising company out of New York, and so you know they sent my manager, you know, the lady who's be my manager. Oh, she had the neatest accent. I really liked her. But we'd go out on these calls, business, you know, to businesses, local businesses, and show them the advertising plan and sign them up. And she was really good at it, and I didn't do half bad at it. I mean, because the advertising kind of, you know, the way it was done, uh, was brilliant. You know, it was good, and you know, so I had to sign up like I can't remember the number, but it had to be $2,000 worth of business for, you know, a certain period of time, and I almost had it, and but the, but the manager said, well, we're going to go ahead and close it. But, well, all during this time, you didn't get paid until, you know, you actually closed the book on it. You know, but you had to have so many signed up on it to close the book. And so I went too long without a paycheck and got strapped. I mean, it got to where I didn't even have gas money and stuff. So that kind of fell through. Yeah. Subscribe and like. Thank you. Thanks for watching.